Good afternoon, business owners and counselors in the Austin, Texas area. Welcome to the press conference discussing same-sex marriage in the workplace. My name is Frankie Guidone, advisor for small businesses located in Austin, Texas. Now, joining us today are, to my right, Sarah Bew, lawyer specializing in protecting small businesses' religious freedom. Now we have Jessica Collins, HR director for Austin in the Austin, Texas area, specializing in making the workplace feel more secure and diverse. We now have Penny Driver, White House intern and graduate from St. Edward's University. And finally, to the far right, Ali Al-Ali, director for marriage counseling in Austin. Now, the purpose of this panel is to express both sides of this controversial topic, as well as to educate companies on how their decision to allow or not allow same-sex marriage in the workplace would impact their business. The guidelines are as follows. Panelists will answer 4 questions. They'll then have 1 minute to respond, and we'll end with a quick Q&A from the audience. They'll have 3 questions for us, and again, the panelists will have 1 minute to respond. We'll start with the questions now, and this is for all of our panelists. What is your personal stance on same-sex marriage marriage in general? We'll start with you, Sarah, and you have 1 minute to respond. You may begin.
Well, as Frankie mentioned, my name is Sarah Bew. I am a lawyer that specializes in protecting small business owners' religious freedom. For the past 5 years, I've been a part of the American Center for Law and Justice. This is a law firm and an educational organization that specializes in constitutional law. My personal stance on same-sex marriage is that I am against it. However, I do not discriminate against homosexual people in my friendship or business relationships. I was raised and still am a devout Catholic. Therefore, I believe that that marriage is actually a union between a man and a woman only. That is why I'm against same-sex marriage.
Thank you, Sarah. We'll move on to Jessica now. What is your stance on same-sex marriage? And you have 1 minute to respond.
Hi, I'm Jessica Collins, and I am Head of Human Resources for the City of Austin. I've been with them for 5 years now, and my stance on same-sex marriage is I support it. I ultimately feel like we should be able to be with who we want to be. This is the person we're investing our lives with. You're going to be raising a family, making, day-to-day decisions. Also, I don't think anybody should ever feel judged or worried about going out in public with their significant other. This is their lives, and they're not affecting us on a day-to-day basis. As for the workplace, I feel that work is supposed to be professional, and as long as each person is fulfilling their task and their day-to-day duties, it should be ultimately up to them who they're with. And this is why I support same-sex marriage.
Thank you, Jessica. Move on to Penny now. What is your stance on same-sex marriage? You have 1 minute.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Penny Driver, and I am a current intern at the White House in the scheduling office and the advanced team. My personal stance on same-sex marriage is I am pro for same-sex marriage because I believe everybody should have marriage equality regardless of who it is. You should be able to marry whoever you want to because of the fact that it's just 2 people in a relationship, not 2 people in the whole society. If you want to marry somebody of the same sex or the opposite sex, that's up to you. In my stance, you love the people who you love, and it shouldn't matter what skin color, what their religion, what their faith, anything. You should just love that person for who they are and who they become to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Penny. And finally, Ali, we'll move on to you. What is your personal stance on same-sex marriage? You have 1 minute.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ali Al-Ali, and I'm a marriage counselor in Austin, Texas. In my personal stance, I do not support same-sex marriage and the movement to secure equal treatment under law for same-sex couples because my religious entities does not tolerate the idea of having same-sex marriage or any relationship between 2 people of the same gender. Marriage has always been a covenant between a man and a woman to educate the children and unity of their well-being. Same-sex marriage is something entirely different. They cannot produce children.
All right. Thank you, Ali. We'll move on to our second question now, which again is for all of our panelists. How do you believe businesses will be affected by same-sex marriage? Sarah, we'll start with you. You have 1 minute.
All All right, I think that businesses can be either negatively or positively affected by same-sex marriage. According to Nathan Coppell and Ashby Jones, writers for the Wall Street Journal, they said that business owners and professionals in the wedding industry are already running headlong into state anti-discrimination laws when they refused, on religious reasons, to provide their wedding services to same-sex couples. However, I think that this can be negative and positive for businesses because businesses should be able to refuse based on religious grounds, and then other companies, many other companies, would be very willing to take on that extra business, and it would not be morally conflicting for them. So that is my stance.
Thank you, Sarah. Jessica, we'll move on to you now. How do you believe businesses will be affected by same-sex marriage? You have 1 minute to respond.
I think businesses will be affected positively. However, I do believe it's all about the company's attitude. I think a lot of companies in today's society are accustomed to routine and a certain atmosphere. So if your coworkers aren't used to this, for example, it may be a harder transition, but it's all about the person and how they want to go at it. With this being said, a big part of my job is hiring. And when I'm hiring people, not only am I looking at, past criteria, education, work experience, I'm looking at how they feel about the work atmosphere. I want people that are team-oriented, team players, because that's how a company is going to be successful. Also, it opens up the pool to hiring. I have more people to choose from. And if somebody is good at what they do, in my opinion, they worked just as hard as everyone else to get there. So why not let them contribute to the company? With this being said, I think it would be positive.
Thank you, Jessica. And Penny, we'll move on to you. How do you think businesses will be affected by same-sex marriage? 1 minute.
It is my belief that same-sex marriage in the business should be allowed because businesses should support same-sex marriage. I say this because according to procon.org, gay marriages can give financial gain to businesses and local and state governments. In New York, it was reported by the comptroller that $142 million could come in revenue and $184 million in the state could become in revenue if they allow same-sex marriage. And it was reported on Yahoo Finance recently that $250 million was given to the New York because of their lifting their ban of legalizing gay marriage. In New Zealand, they have recently also legalized gay marriage. An Australian couple decided to take their marriage to New Zealand, and they paid over $54,000. And it has been said that Australia will lose $54 million each year in revenue.
Sorry, Penny, I'll have to stop you right there.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Ali, we'll move on to you. Well, how do you think businesses will be affected by same-sex marriage? You have 1 minute.
I believe same-sex married employees that have had to file as single for payroll withholding may need to file out a new W-4 form to reflect their status as a married couple. The discrepancy of legal marriage based on where the couple was married versus the couple's current residence can make tax rule and other benefit definitions confusing for employers. I also believe same-sex marriage can discriminate other people based on their gender.
Thank you, Ali. Our next question is going to be for Sarah View and Penny Driver. Are same-sex marriage and religion fundamentally at odds? Sarah, we'll start with you. You have 1 minute.
I think same-sex marriage and religion are definitely at odds. Matthew J. Frank, a writer for the Witherspoon Institute, recently published, and I quote, "The transformation of the law to redefine the meaning of marriage will be very bad indeed for those people of faith who want to maintain their faith's teaching on marriage in their religious institutions and at work." End quote. He stresses that the preservation of both meaningful religious liberty and the truth about marriage are inseparable in our legal order. He believes that they will stand or fall together, and I agree with him. And this is why I think that they're fundamentally at odds.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. We'll move on to you now, Penny. Are same-sex marriage and religion fundamentally at odds? You have 1 minute.
I think society has made same-sex marriage and religion fundamentally at odds, but personally, I do not believe that same-sex marriage and religion are fundamentally at odds because I don't believe they have any correlation. I believe in the workplace, businesses' main focus is not who a person intends to marry. Their main focus is to worry about what their clients and their customers get the best products or services. For example, Barack Obama made a statement in August 18th, 2008, saying that he didn't believe in same-sex marriage because he believed that a marriage was a sacred union because he is a Christian and that it should be between a man and a woman. But on May 9, 2012, he made a statement on Good Morning America, changing his whole stance on same-sex marriage, saying that he would prefer to legalize same-sex marriage because he had spoken to family members and other staff members. Thank you.
Thank you, Penny. And Ali, we'll move on, we are now on to our last question. And this is for Ali and Jessica. The question is, do you think people should pay tax dollars for something that they do not believe in? Jessica, we'll start with you. You have 1 minute to respond.
I do believe we should have to pay tax dollars for something we don't believe in. This being said, we're doing this right now. For example, Obamacare. According to the Washington Post, only 59% of Americans support this, and we're paying tax dollars on this right now. Same-sex marriage would be another example. And for the people that support both of these, this is a huge benefit for them on a day-to-day basis. I mean, they're, passionate about this. This is making their lives better. On the other hand, we live in a country with a lot of diversity, and I think the chances of everybody agreeing on what we're paying tax dollars for is very slim. So it's about the bigger picture, and this is why I feel we should pay tax dollars for stuff we don't believe in.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. And finally, Ali, same question. Do you think people should pay tax dollars for something that they do not believe in? You have 1 minute to respond.
In my opinion, I think people should pay taxes because it keeps the economy growing. Like if we live in a world where people don't pay taxes, we'll worry about how the government finances its programs later on. The people who are retiring won't get money since the government can't pay them. The whole US is going to go backwards. The military would be weaker. Therefore, it will help other countries threat the US. So whether people believe in it or not, it's just it's just the way it is. It also helps the national security for new equipments to keep the US safe and secure from any terrorist attack. Thank you again.
Thank you, Ali. To summarize, we had our panelists give their personal opinion on same-sex marriage in the workplace. Sarah Bew, who is against same-sex marriage, gave her reasons due to religious purposes. Jessica Collins, for same-sex marriage in the workplace, gave her reasons based off of it's truly not the business's main concern. Penny Driver, also for same-sex marriage in the workplace, gave her reasons based off of financial success from same-sex marriage. And Ali Al-Ali, who gave his reasons against same-sex marriage due to religious purposes. Again, it's between a man and a woman. I want to thank everybody for coming out today and listening to our press conference. We're now going to open up the floor for audience Q&A. Yes?
Question for Jessica. We'll know if you think the CEO of Chick-fil-A's recent stance on same-sex marriage was positive or negative towards his company.
Jessica, the question was, do you think the CEO of Chick-fil-A's recent stance on same-sex marriage was positive or negative toward his company? You have 1 minute.
I think the CEO had a negative effect from this. I think he discriminated a bunch of people. It went, it was a media huge controversy, and for me, thinking about those employees, I mean, they must have felt unequal. They were put on the spot compared to other employees, and ultimately they were doing what they were asked. However, according to the Huffington Post, they rose 2.2 in the third quarter compared to 2011. So financially, Chick-fil-A went up because of this. And I have a feeling that had a lot to do with the attention they were getting from the media. However, coming from what I do, I don't feel it was the right way to go about it regarding his employees. And I do think Chick-fil-A will be looked at very differently for the years to come. Thank you.
Jessica?
This question's for Sarah. Why do you think that the push for rights for homosexuals is being compared to the civil rights movement for African Americans?
Sarah, the question was, why do you think the push for rights for homosexual people is being compared to the civil rights movement for African Americans? You have 1 minute.
Well, I think that the two groups are being compared because unfortunately both groups have dealt with discrimination and in some cases still are. However, I think the latter group was enslaved and also had to deal with prejudice, and all based on their skin color. While the gay rights movement is pushing for policies that will go directly against many people's moral values. So that's why I think that they're being compared, but wrongfully so. Thank you.
This question's for Penny. How would denying same-sex couples their right to benefits affect their daily life?
Penny, the question was, how would denying same-sex couples their right to benefits affect their daily life? You have 1 minute.
Same-sex couples' daily lives will be affected by depriving these couples and their families of tangible rights and also intangible protection and responsibilities. According to Freedom to Marry, they will be deprived of the death rights to leave, to have bereavement from work, to be able to get assets when there's an absence of a will, and they won't be able to file wrongful death claims. These couples also won't be able to be considered next of kin for purposes of hospital visitation and commercial medical decisions, and they aren't eligible for Medicare or Medicaid. In property, they are excluded from buying and owning property together under favorable terms, and protection and distribution of property in an event of divorce or death. Thank you.
Thank you, Penny. And I want to thank all the audience, and I want to thank our panelists as well for coming out today. That's all the time we have. Have a good afternoon. Thank you.